Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Photographer's Favorite Show, where I pick 5 of my favorite photos from other photographers, and my guest picks 5 of their favorites from another photographer, and we talk about everything we love about them. It's a great way for us to slow down, talk about photos, talk about really what we like, break them down, and really spend some time with some photos. And today, I'm so excited to have Noah Orloff with me. How's it going, Noah?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good too, man. Yeah, I was out and did some fun photography this morning. Although I should say it turned fun because it started really rough. I went out, I took a client out for Bufflehead, and we had one swim into the decoys right when we got there, which was dark and rainy. So it was like you could kind of see it, but the ISOs were skyrocketed and it was
Mhm.
close, like frame filling close. And then for the next hour and a half, nothing. Like we just sat there. They're all just out there, and we're like, oh, come on, really? But then we kind of wrapped up there and hopped over to another spot and salvaged everything and had a good outing. So, how about you? Anything fun lately?
Lately it's been really cold, in the negative. So I
Eesh.
haven't really gotten out lately, but I've seen a barred owl this winter, and it's always fun getting to see them. They're not an easy subject, but they're really
Yeah,
fun to spend time with.
nice, Matt. Just to let everybody know, where are you located, Noah?
I'm in Minnesota, so I'm about roughly like 15 minutes away from Minneapolis, so the Twin Cities area.
Okay, cool, nice. Oh, I like this moody grape blue right there. That one just kind of
Thank you.
stands out there too. How long have you been shooting, Noah? Can't be
So
that long because you're so
yeah,
young.
I'm 18, and so really bird photography probably about 4 years, but
Nice.
for 3 of those years it was basically if I had the eye in focus, I was happy.
Yeah.
But the last year it's really progressed to creative compositions, working with better light, and taking advantage of the winter, the
Yeah,
snow,
man.
getting foreground involved, all
Yeah,
of that.
love this. Yeah,
Thank you.
great way to make an ugly bird look decent. You know, good job.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's all I've had around lately, the turkeys. So
Oh,
got
okay,
to know
nice. Hey,
them. Yeah.
man. Yeah, you work with what you got, right?
Yep,
Excellent.
definitely.
All right, cool. You ready to jump into the show?
Yep, let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right, first photo from our good friend Theo. He's been making a lot of the shows lately, and it's certainly understandable why he's such a great photographer and such a great person as well. Love this image. This image to me is just all about leading lines. That's really what it is. We got the very obvious bold yellow leading line here, which I don't know if he says it here, but I talked to him when he shot this, and it was like he was I think along the side of a road, and it was kind of like snow embankment, and then a little like grass line that had kind of melted, or maybe it was like railroad tracks or something. I forget. It was something like that. Uh, but anyway, it just brings us right up to towards the bird here. Then the lovely red over here in the trees back there. Again, just kind of a nice arrow pointing us right in towards where the bird is. And then it's real subtle, but there's another one over here, just kind of leading us in this direction again. So and I gotta say, all lines are kind of converging here at like the vanishing point in the perspective. And the bird's not right there. Like if the bird was right there, great, everything's pointing right at it, but it still works perfectly because the bird's gaze is off in this direction too. It's a great bird, great gray owl. Man, so many puns right there, right? I just said great so many times.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's great snow. It's a great bird. No, I'm just kidding. But the low perspective like that, just everything works so well. And I like that it has like a really nice trio of colors. We got red, yellow, blue, and then that's pretty much it. The bird's pretty monotone, so not much color going on there. So yeah, just outstanding image all around, man.
Yeah, and I think Theo said that a snowplow had just come and plowed that out, so that kind
Oh,
of created
okay,
that
yeah,
look. Yeah, and this photo, it's one of those that I remember where I saw it. I had just I think it was during my winter break, so I would just gone to Mexico, and I looked at
okay,
that, and I was in sunny Mexico, and I was like I want to be up north in Minnesota photographing great gray owls. I'd rather be there because this photo really captures that winter scene, and it just goes on forever, that background. It's really
yeah,
pretty.
really. Isn't it great how photos can do that? How they can transport you like that, or make you
Hmm.
wish you were somewhere. I'm sure when you first went on that vacation, it's like, oh, great to get away from the Minnesota cold and be down in this warm. And then you see a photo like that and you're instantly like, oh, I want to be back up there. It's so fun.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man. You ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right. There you go. What do you think of that one?
Oh wow. Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
the light just so gorgeous, and yeah, and the way the subject I really like the framing, the way that it looks like a deer is right under the tree right there.
Yep.
And yeah, it's so beautiful, the light going through like that, and kind of the way it creates almost like a circular um kind of flare that
Yeah.
that really looks nice. And wow, yeah, that light, it shows how with good light you can create such nice scenes. And I've never shot the sun through a tree like that,
Me
but
neither.
it really turned out beautiful.
Yeah. Very much agree with everything you said, man. And kudos to the photographer for not, just zooming in, cropping in, whatever, right on the subjects, right? This is
Hmm.
all about the scene. That's what this photo is. This is a photo of the scene, the deer, the field, the light, the fog, the tree, like it's all about everything coming together. It's not just about one thing. Love what you mentioned with the framing of the deer, under the tree. And it is really wild how the light is just bursting through there. And it really seems like it's because of this kind of light fog that's hanging there. I think without that, you would probably just get just little bright spots there. You wouldn't get this kind of burst of sun where it looks like it's just ready to explode through the tree like that. It's such a unique look, and just so well shot and so well edited too. It's not pushed too far. It's not like oversaturated, over contrasty. It's just soft and serene and calm. And whether it was or not, I have no idea, but it looks warm. It just
Hmm.
has
Yep.
that vibe to it. I mean, it easily could have been like a chilly morning with some low fog, but it doesn't seem that way to me, just with the color palette and everything. And it's just got such an amazing mood to the shot.
Yeah, and kind of like what you talked about with Tobias on that show. If you take out the deer, it's still
Mm-hmm.
really pretty. Still something just like that's an awesome photo. But yeah, having two right there, it really gets a nice sense of the scenery.
Excellent point, Noah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a perfect point on this one. Yeah, it could be a great landscape shot on its own. Totally. All right, let's see what we got up next. Oh yeah, yours. One of you that you picked here. Man, great use of foreground. Just framing in this common goldeneye. Um, two in a row with you with some falling snow. Well done. Nice. Yeah, sticking with the winter theme there. I love it. Just the falling snow, while not a lot in this one, it doesn't need to be. It's just enough to kind of set the season, set the weather. We know it's cold, so all of that just comes from the simple addition of these snowflakes. And such a great placement of the bird in this little divot here. It's not too far back, so it's up at this point, which would still probably work, but and it's not kind of getting intersecting into this. It's just in the right spot. This is the kind of thing I would love to hear the backstory from the photographer. If he was just set up in this spot, he or she, it was just set up in this spot and waiting for it to something to swim into that little opening, or if it was the kind of thing where they saw that going in that direction and maybe move themselves a little bit to get into that spot. It would be interesting to know. Either way, it's great.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether it was like a quick thing or a
Hmm.
long planned out thing, but it works so well. And last point before I hand it off to you, I really think that the foreground helps make so much more depth and dimension to the shot. Without that foreground element, if we just imagine it being all this white water going all the way across, not nothing bad about it, but it just lacks that extra element that I think kind of takes it to the next level.
Yeah, I think the photographer said that they were using the rocks kind of as a hide, like kind of
Oh,
to hide away from, ducks. Ducks can be kind of skittish, so
you don't
it's
say.
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how it came together, and really kind of like you said, the foreground. I've only seen a couple great duck photos that utilize foreground. I know one of them that comes to mind is your hooded merganser one. That one's amazing. But
Oh,
having
thanks.
foreground for ducks is something that really I hadn't thought of. And in some locations, it's probably pretty hard to do. But this one, it really turns out really well.
Yeah, and it's funny. You never know. Sometimes the location can force you into that. You know, like he said,
Mm-hmm.
he was using it as the photographer was using it as a hide to kind of hide behind. So maybe the necessity of having to hide introduce like, oh, hey, look, this foreground element is wonderful. Sometimes that kind of stuff has happened to me. Just the situation puts me in a position where all of a sudden I notice something that I probably wouldn't have noticed on my own, and it's so great when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. All right, next up, got this one for you.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
the light and I think that's such a perfect subject to have the spoonbill there against that background, just
yeah,
to make it stand out. And it there's the symmetry too, like having right down the middle the beak like that, and the wings perfectly spread out. And yeah, and the way that you see the light kind of start out at the bottom of the bird and then slowly kind of come up
yeah, yeah. Yep.
gradually. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I very much agree with you. The symmetry there is an important part of it, and just such an awkward pose on them made beautiful by Ron here. Ron is amazing at birds in flight. I know it's something he definitely
Mhm.
concentrates on, and where he lives down in Florida, which happens to be near where I stay when I'm down in Florida. There's some great spoonbill places to photograph, which we will both be keeping a secret. But there's I've never seen someone who has such a plethora, like a catalog of amazing spoonbill and flight photos, and so he's got so many great ones. But this one really stood out to me because of the things you mentioned, the symmetry here in the wing, just the angle of them. Love how the feathers, you can see each individual primary on the end there. And the light. The light on this one is really what makes it to me. The light not being on the background, but being on the bird is what gives us that black background, which is so great. And then it's so soft in its direction because like you can see there's definitely direction there. Look at the shadow off the leg there.
Mhm.
But it's still soft. Like look at the how soft the light is on this side. There's still detail on the shadow side, so it's not just all black on that shadow side. The shadow of the bird's like back and head, like just touching the wing there. Again, soft. It's not real harsh. Like nothing is harsh about this at all. Yet it's kind of got that amazing spotlight effect of the bird being lit with the background not. And I just love how it makes it look like it's almost like a studio lit shot, but using just incredible available light. So yeah, it's an in your face spoonbill shot.
Yeah, and to get a sharp image with a bird flying at you, not easy. So
Yeah.
definitely excellent.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm glad you mentioned that. Whenever I'm photographing birds in flight, which isn't often, honestly, it's weird. I actually find it easier to photograph them flying kind of straight at me than anything else because if they're coming at me, like the camera does all the work for me. Like I'm just kind of holding it right there and just kind of pointing
Hmm.
it at them. And with the more modern higher end cameras and good fast lenses, they usually do an amazing job at just tracking that subject coming right in, as long as they're flying kind of consistently. Like if they're flying
Hmm.
erratically coming at you, well then forget it. Yeah, then it's really
Hmm.
difficult. But compared to when I have to track a bird going side to side, I tend to have more issues with that and fail a lot more. It seems. I don't know if that's true or if it's just in my head, but it seems that way to me.
Yeah, and I mentioned I've been taking photos of barred owls, and they are really difficult in flight.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so basically impossible that I settle for the perch shots and kind of set my settings for that. Just kind of drop my shutter speed, and then maybe if I
yeah,
can get something motion blur, then I'll settle for that.
totally, yeah. And I have
Hmm.
to imagine so often, or the other way, so rarely they're flying in the open. It's most of the time they're probably flying in the forest and trees, branches, all kinds of stuff. So it's like,
Hmm.
A, how do you track them? B, how do you get a clear opening? Like that's got to be a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, there's like 1 second where they're in an opening and then they're
Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
And come on, what, you can't nail focus in that 1 second? Come on, Noah. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, gotta up my game. Yeah.
Don't worry, I can't either. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's see what you got up next. Oh, nice. Excellent color. Absolutely excellent color. And really, really good use of a man-made object. I usually try to work around those, but if you have a bird on one and everything else is working for it, like it is here with that background and everything, make it look good. And the photographer did in this circumstance. Great depth. Again, talking about like we opened up the show with the leading lines, tons of leading lines here. Just with the fence here and with the depth of it, just this post being out of focus, the only one being the in focus bird, the in focus pole with the bird on it. And then everything just kind of fading off to softness back there. We get to see the horizon, as you can see kind of where the field ends back there, which is a nice element of context. And then the bird just angled perfectly, looking into the frame. So it's composed just so nicely. The pole and the bird on the right third here. Perfect soft light to make everything stand out nicely without any harsh shadows or anything. Very well done shot.
Yeah, and something I liked about it a bit was the texture and that rusty
Yeah.
look. That's something that I don't think I've taken a photo with any rusty look to it, and I think it looks really good. And as you mentioned, kind of how you have each individual kind of, I guess, pole go kind of out of focus more. You
Yeah.
see each one kind of, you can kind of discern, okay, that's one, that's two, and then it kind of clumps into one.
Yeah. It just fades away there. Yeah.
Going on forever.
Yeah. Great point about the rust color, and it matches the bird's brown too, which is perfect.
Definitely. Yeah.
So a nice tonal match there. And then, come on. Like with that yellow, I mean, it's just insane. There's just so much flowers back there. There's no opening. There's no area that doesn't have the yellow, which is really, really nice. So, yeah, well done. All right, let's see what we got next for you. There you go.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. And kind of reminds me of the turkey photo we were looking at earlier, how slowly it gets more and more easy to tell what's going on in the scene, and your eyes follow that that white, and then it turns into just wow, that moment. Amazing. And I really like the composition too, the way there's enough space that it's not too tight on the left side, but it's not too much space. I think that it's hard to tell kind of what's going on and too isolated. I think it's a really nice composition, and I really love how that second branch is included there.
Me too.
It frames it really well.
It does. It provides balance in the image.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I totally think it would work without that second one, but I think it works better because of it. And it would be easy to think about trying to compose it and just kind of crop that out there. But I think, it just seems to balance better, especially with the pose, the wings up, the calling out, open beak this way. I don't know why, but it just feels like this belongs there. It needs to be there almost. And the fog on this one is just such a perfect fade. It's just at the right height. You can even start to see a little tiny bit of detail back there of whatever else is kind of lower in the frame there. A very monochromatic image that I don't think was converted to black and white, because it almost looks like I see a little hint of that kind of bluish black on the kingfisher itself. So I feel like I'm seeing a little color there, but generally speaking, there's just, it's a monochromatic image, and such a sense of mystery and calmness and quiet, yet the mayhem of these kingfishers. And if you've never seen one or heard one, they are not subtle in any way. So you can just imagine it just being dead quiet out there, except for this obnoxiously loud rattle of this belted kingfisher. So that part alone, I think, it just really kind of sets the scene and tells a story of this photo that I can just imagine being there hearing that.
Yeah, and I also, as you were talking, kind of noticed how the top is kind of the opposite of what's going on at the bottom. It starts to kind of get a bit darker at the
Yep.
top, and that works really well, I think, where it kind of meets in the middle, or not necessarily the middle, but in that top third at the kingfisher. And it would be one thing to have this image with the kingfisher just perched there, but to have the wings up,
Yeah.
I think, adds so much to it.
It really does, yeah. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if Josh has photos of it just perched there because maybe it wasn't doing that the whole time, or maybe it was just landing, or this was just before a takeoff or something, or who knows? Kingfishers are obnoxious sometimes. Maybe it was just sitting there screaming the whole time. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, the behavior adds so much to this photo versus just a portrait, which again would work as a portrait, but not as well. And Josh is. That's where Josh excels. It's those little tiny differences and details that he captures, these little moments, these behaviors that take it from just a really, really good portrait to, oh, wow, that's like next level, and he does that over and over again in his photography. So this is a great example of that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Josh's work.
Yeah, me too. Oh, wow, man. This is nice. This is really cool. So well thought of, so well composed. Um, such an interesting choice to do it vertically too. This image could go it could go horizontal, it could go vertical, but it feels right vertical. I don't know why either, but it really does. Perfect framing of the birds. I mean, there is only one I can find that touches the trees. Everything else, even this one, still has a little space. Every other one has its own space around it, which is just incredible. That's such a unique thing. Turkey vultures, yeah. I was wondering if they were turkey or black. Um, yeah, I mean, how often so many photographers, myself included, maybe you walk, you see them flying overhead, it's like, oh, there they are, and then you just move on.
Hmm.
For her to stop and see this and have the foresight that this is a creative shot and then to compose it just right so we have the trees framing all the way around. I mean, the trees are making a perfect box. Like if we look at the white inside of here, it's just a perfect box which matches the composition of the image. So much going on well here. And again, none of the birds are even overlapping. So you can imagine how easy it would be to have one kind of flying over top of another one and then they would be intersecting, but every single bird its own space, nothing intersecting, like just incredible shot. And then the one little opening down here has a bird flying in it. The one little opening up here has a bird in it. The opening up here, a bird heading towards it. So everything is so well balanced. The chaos of a flock of circling vultures still has such a great pattern and balance to the overall shot. Yeah, very well done. And I'm glad you picked this one. Totally unique.
Yeah, and there's really a unique story behind it too. So Emily, when I messaged Emily about it, the story I believe is that Emily was taking a video of the vultures on a phone, and then screenshotted this frame
Nice.
later. And that's a method that I've never used. And for those watching, I think a majority of Emily's photos are DSLR or mirrorless camera photos.
Yeah.
But the fact that I think it really adds a whole new meaning to it. And yeah, it's really everything you said. But I think I thought a lot about the saying, the best camera is the one that's with you.
Yeah.
When I saw this one, and how kind of creativity. Sometimes you might not necessarily have a nice camera with you, but sometimes a phone will do. And look at the end result. It's amazing. And when this I forgot who said it, but somebody in the group chat said something like it's amazing how it's the perspective of like kind of a dead animal or
The
something
carcass. Yeah,
decomposing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a carcass. Yeah, just because as scavengers, that's what they're circling, and that's something
Sure.
that's just so perspective is so important in photography, and it's one that just left me speechless. And
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about how you could really flip around this image anyway, but this one definitely like seems the most perfect way to compose it.
It does, yeah. I would. It would be interesting. It would be a cool experiment to grab it and then rotate it each way and just see how it feels different each way. I'm not going to dive into doing that because I'll end up messing something up right now,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do that. But yeah, that would be a real cool experiment just to see. And I would love to hear if she did that, if she tried different rotations to see which one felt right, or if it's just like this is the one I know. This is the vision I have for the shot. Yeah, and it's such a graphical image. It really is. Everything is sharp. There's nothing out of focus here, and yeah, that's so cool to know it was a screen grab out of a video, because that shows even more interesting creative vision in my mind to be able to just watch a moving video and see, oh wait, there's a still frame in here
Hmm.
that I can grab and is powerful and has a lot of impact as that single image, instead of seeing it's probably a cool video just seeing them all circle around in that opening framed up like that. But the still frame also has that motion, right? We can all sense what's happening there. We know they're not just frozen in midair. We know they're circling and flying around like that. uh yeah, very, very cool.
And they all have that same classic vulture wings out. None of
Yeah,
them are mid flap,
I
and
know.
they're at different angles and stuff, but they're all
Sure.
outstretched, and you can feel kind of there's layers to it. Like some are
Yep.
further away, some are closer. Yeah, it's really this one. Emily has tons of great images, but this one I've never seen anything quite like this one.
Yeah, very much agree, man. Very unique image. Awesome choice. Something nice and simple.
Yeah, yeah, wow. That the reflection, the lighting, and the framing too,
Yeah.
kind of sneaking right between um, those plants or vegetation. It's quite amazing, and I do like also kind of that effect of the top and the bottom of the image lead towards it. You got kind of a lighter background and foreground
Yeah.
that kind of leads you towards the middle of the image. And yeah, that lighting's great. Some out of focus background there, and yeah, it's really really gorgeous.
Yeah, to me, this was a perfect example of how important framing elements in the photo can be to make a photo better than it maybe would have been originally. Imagine a shot without the grass. Beautiful light. I mean, it's gorgeous, soft, early morning, late evening light, whatever it is. Adorable little, it's a blue winged teal, so just a cute little duckling. Nice low perspective, clean, uh, distant, dark background. The bird stands out, right? So all those elements working for it. And if we imagine it without the grass, that's all well and good, but it doesn't have, it lacks some context. It's like, okay, where is this? It's just a blank slate, and it can be a beautiful blank slate, but having these grasses here, it, for lack of a better term, grounds the bird. It kind of anchors it in the frame there, and then the framing, like you pointed out, the head being just in between the two major clumps of grasses, and then having this one kind of curve over top of it like that to kind of just frame in the head. Absolutely perfect placement. Great timing on the photographer's part, watching and waiting for that moment to happen. Whether they were shooting a burst and then picked out this one, or whether they, tracked it and waited for it to get there, doesn't matter. Either way, they ended up with the right shot, because if the head was back here intersecting those grasses or intersecting these, it doesn't work as well. So that placement is so important, and that added element of those grasses to me just make it so much better. And I thought that was just like, that was the first thing that stood out to me. Look at how it's right in between those grasses.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is nice to have them somewhat in focus, so you kind of really feel that element of it's right there. It's like almost touching them.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Or almost like trying to blend into them, trying to
Yeah.
hide in
Hmm.
there. And it's like, obviously not, but maybe it's like, it feels safer because it's got that little bit of cover around it or something. Who knows? Yeah. But Matt, the light on that one is outstanding too.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. What a lovely sense of motion. Wow. Egrets too. I've never seen that many. Oh, wait. And there's gulls down there too. Okay. Yeah, so it makes me wonder what is flying. It looks like kind of both. Um, flying up there, maybe. Probably more the gulls than the egrets, I would guess. But wow, super moody shot. I'm guessing in the morning based on the title. So I love the blue tone of this. It really helps to solidify that, dawn or dusk kind of time frame in the shot. And I mean, what more do you say? All those sharp egrets there, the incredible flock of gulls in the bottom, and then all that motion blur up top is just absolute. It's such a great mixture of still and movement, that is so hard to achieve. It's hard enough to achieve like a good blurred shot on its own, and then when you mix in, a massive flock like this, and then some birds not moving much, other birds moving a lot. It's like, what do you do? I mean, if I picture myself being there, it's like, what do I even point my camera at? What do I shoot? How do I set my camera? It's almost so overwhelming that you just don't end up doing anything good. And this photographer knew exactly what they were doing and pulled out probably what I would guess it could be the best possible outcome from a scenario like that.
Yeah, that made me think of, because like from my own experience, I've had a really difficult time. Like the more birds, the more difficult. If you want
Yeah.
to isolate one, you got a beacon here, a wing in there, and something distracting. And then if you go out, it's like, what are you shooting? It's there's not really kind of a sense of where does your eye go? How do you establish a nice scene? And this one does that so well that kind
Yeah.
of the motion blur becomes almost the background of the photo, even though you can tell it apart. It almost becomes the background, and then you have kind of the lower third, and the gulls lead up to the egrets. Like you might not even notice those are gulls at first, and
I didn't. You're right.
yeah, and that's what I love about this image is it's almost kind of like, I guess, a game of like where's Waldo. You can look at it. The longer you look at it, the more you find.
Great
Like
blue herons or
yeah,
gray herons back here, I'm
yeah,
guessing,
those
based on where the
herons.
location. Yeah.
Yeah, those herons. I noticed after like 10 minutes of looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, you got other species in here, and
Yep.
then kind of the way that almost kind of like Emily's, none of the birds really intersect each other or get in the way of each other that much. Like there's so
Yeah.
much, you can see each one really well and tell that that's an egret, and that their heads aren't lined up the same way or whatever. So I think
Yeah.
it kind of like what you said. I don't think there could from this type of scene be too many amazing photos created except this one. I guess
Correct.
really
Yeah.
difficult, and
Yeah.
the photographer told me that actually, funny enough, when they were doing this, they had kind of a malfunction with their tripod, so most of the shots were not sharp. But then they took a couple at the end, I think handheld, or a couple with the tripod, and only a few turned out
Wow.
good in this. Yeah, so kind of a reminder to check your gear, but also sometimes there's a little bit of chance
You can
in
do it without it.
photography. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Um, yeah. It's a great point. What you said, how there's more to discover the longer you look at it. The first thing you notice is, for me, first thing I notice is the motion blur. Second thing, which is almost immediate, is just the nice line of sharp egrets. And then it's like, oh wait, yeah, look, the foreground contains all these gulls. That's amazing. That's probably what's flying. And then yeah, the longer you look at it, oh, there's herons there. And who knows, if this wasn't Instagram and we actually had this full screen, a lot higher resolution, maybe we'd see a lot of some other interesting stuff going on there. But yeah, such a well done photo. And can you imagine the noise, the chaos that's going on in the scene? Like it's got to just be mayhem going on there,
Yeah.
which again can easily make it overwhelming and hard to decide what to zero in on, how to truly capture all that craziness that's going on. And this does it so perfectly. It shows the volume of birds, it shows the motion of the birds, it shows the stillness of the other birds, right? It shows all of that in one still frame, which is a massive accomplishment. So yeah, this is a photo that is going to be in my mind for the next time I encounter, a crazy flock of birds, because usually when I'm in flocks, I'm just like, nah, I don't know. So this gives inspiration, no doubt. All right, last one.
Wow.
Spend some time figuring that one out.
Yeah. So I think I see a heron. Yeah.
Yep.
And wow. So once again, it's amazing how that curve brings you follow the curve
Yeah.
to the heron, and it's just stands out so well. And the fact that there's no like those balls, the foreground, whatever that is, I'm not even sure what that is, but
Foreground
whatever
snow.
they are. What?
Foreground snow or rain, I'm
Oh
guessing.
yeah, snow. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
yeah,
think snow. Yeah, it says snow for 2 hours. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So that snow doesn't get in the way of the heron there, which is
All right.
great.
I
And
know.
yeah, and the way that even within that one, the one that's kind of diagonal a little below the heron, there's even snow within the snow, like little
Yep.
small pieces of snow within the snow,
Yep.
which is
Yeah. Yeah. Right in there.
yeah, and
Exactly. Oh, and here
yeah,
too. Yeah.
and
All of
yeah,
them.
that
Yeah.
one there's like which is something really really cool, and yeah, it's kind of a path leading to the bird, and
Totally.
there's something about the bird looking off in the other way that is pretty cool to me, I think.
Yep.
The way the path kind of I've been referencing the path because that's what I'm
Yeah. This
calling this,
curve.
but the path goes with where the bird's looking.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
amazing.
exactly what I thought. Yeah, that was exactly what I thought. So, looking at a frame bird, usually a kind of a no-no, breaking the rules. This is the time to do that. This is when it works perfectly. Um, Gives us a sense of, what's going on over there. And it follows the flow of this photo so perfectly. Even if we look at these snowflakes that are illuminated in the foreground, the bokeh balls, brighter, 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 and then a little bit dimmer, right? They're kind of, the brightness is kind of fading from left to right there in a certain way. So even those are kind of helping draw the eye there. What I would love to know is, I assume it's two lights versus one light but I don't know. Because I guess I could see, like, this feels like it's snow and ice on the edge of a lake that's kind of melted into, water, which is probably where the heron's, hunting. And so I assume the heron is in the water. And, but if it's one bright light, it all makes sense that it lights up the snow in the foreground. The falling snow becomes the bokeh balls. But is that light powerful enough to illuminate that bird at that exposure, at that distance? I don't know. Or is it a second light? That's the only part I can't figure out. If it's one light or two lights.
Yeah,
Not
and I
not that it
wasn't
really
sure if
matters.
it yeah, if it was even like maybe if it was a double exposure or something like that. If the heron, I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I don't know,
yeah,
but such a creative shot. So darn
and the
creative,
way the snow stands out so good against that backdrop, and the way the heron stands out, yeah, it's this one. This is gonna go in my saved folder of
Yeah,
of awesome images because wow, yeah, that and it really it does feel like you're there,
yeah.
and it has a great sense of that, and just the contrast of it all. It's really great.
Well, and it's so funny. So much of this lighting goes against the lighting that I know from portrait photography. And when I would do off camera flash stuff, working with wedding couples and stuff like that, anytime I was in the rain, I would never flash it from like on camera perspective because I wouldn't want to illuminate all this stuff. But turns out that can be an amazing effect. Like, turns out I probably should have tried that,
Hmm.
because illuminating these snowflakes and having them out of focus like that made these incredible balls of light in the foreground that so perfectly frame the bird here and just add such a great element to it. Again, this is a theme I think we've talked about a bunch, or at least I've mentioned a bunch, which is you can take some elements or lighting parts of a photo away and it's still a good photo. So if we don't have this illuminated snowflakes in the sky, still a really cool photo with the illuminated snow leading to the heron back there, but add them in and it's just next level again. It really just takes it up to that next level, having all those snowflakes illuminated in the foreground there. Just yeah, really cool shot. And I love when I to me, it's kind of fun when I can't fully figure it out because it's rare that happens, right? I feel like most photos you look at and you spend enough time with it, you're like, okay, all right, I can figure out how this was lit or how they shot this or what's in the foreground, background. And this one leaves me guessing a little bit, and I like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's a mystery, and it just makes me want to keep on thinking about it and thinking about ways that this could be done and really, really creative. Um, yeah, and I only have done a little bit of photography at nighttime. I recently posted a photo of like my first kind of okay photo at night. It's that raccoon one right there next to the
Oh
Great
yeah.
Bay. Yeah, and that one it was pretty by chance sort of
Nice.
to see that, but I can't imagine getting something like the heron. But
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely it's something um that I think really opens up the possibilities with photography when you start to work with. I know your burrowing owls that kind of around nighttime
Oh yeah,
have
that's
have
fun stuff.
really inspired me. That one with the spotlight, like that one,
Oh,
really
thanks,
really
man.
cool. So
Thank you.
yeah, nighttime photography is something it's seems very very difficult, but
Yeah, no kidding.
you can get some really dramatic stuff like those burrowing owls and the heron.
Very much agree, man. Yeah, it's I just found some woodcock doing their displays recently, and I know they're there because I've seen them there in past years, this time of year. So as soon as I get some free time, I'm going to try and go back. But they don't really generally start doing that until well into dusk, so almost completely dark at that point or close to it. In fact, when I saw this one doing it, I shot a video or I shot a still photo first that was at 2.5 seconds handheld. Guess what? It's not sharp. And then I shot some video because I could go with a slower shutter speed for the video, but the ISO was like maxed out on the camera, as high as it could go. So it's just horribly grainy. So it's going to be interesting to see what I can do, but I have some ideas and it's going to involve flash just to see what I can do. And it's going to be hard. I don't have high hopes, but if it does work out, it could be incredible stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting when those photos use like at least with kind of wildlife that's living in cities, when they use kind of the unnatural objects like
Yeah.
lampposts or lights like mine, because it kind of makes you rethink about kind of nature and wildlife and how kind of in the case of my photo, raccoons, they live in cities and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
they have a life there.
And how much of that wildlife it's that's their go time at the
Hmm.
night,
Hmm.
like when we're
Yep.
all kind of settling down and going to sleep, that's when they're most active. So
Hmm.
there's a whole other life going on out there in
Hmm.
those dark hours. So trying to capture that and share that, while incredibly difficult, is can be quite powerful.
Hmm. Definitely.
All right, dude, great show, man. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'd like to say your work and your YouTube channel, the real time edits and the behind the scenes videos, they're number one, they're great to watch, super enjoyable, but they've been really impactful on my photography and helped me through this journey.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. And you just saved me from doing a plug for myself. So I even appreciate that more. Thanks so much. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'll have another one of these next Saturday. And don't forget, if you haven't visited, just visit rayhennessy.com. It's the best place. I share tons of content, all my stuff from all over the place, new photos every day, all these different videos that Noah just mentioned, all are shared at rayhennessy.com. And all my online courses and workshops, all that stuff there. So give that a visit and check it out. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.